It's a double action game review for today's episode. First, with the Bullet Hellovania Minishoot Adventures, and then we're digging and tearing through Pepper Grinder. Minishoot Adventures is a combination, again, of top-down shooting with good old Metroidvania action-adventure play. When the world has been taken over by evil, you play the lone ship left to save the day using the power of bullets, pew-pewing, and lots of dodging. The structure of this one is exactly how I described it. You'll explore this world using top-down shooter elements and systems, avoiding bullets and all myriads of patterns. But there are persistent upgrades, both active and passive, hidden/required in some cases, in order to explore each one of the game's biomes. The level design here is really well done. Each area has multiple secrets, bonus MacGuffins, and collectibles for you to find, and there will also be shortcuts that will open things up back to each one of the game's major points, as well as the opening hub, which is where you'll be able to acquire and buy upgrades to your gun. As you'll explore, you'll get access to new abilities, such as being able to dash, do this kind of like little dodge move, and some more important ones, like having a super shot, and even time slowdown for when you really need it. The game definitely operates along the lines of like a Zelda style, where you'll have kind of like the opening part of each area being mostly open to you, but if you want to explore further or make actual progress, you will need a previous area's upgrade to do so. Your main limitation at the start is going to be your damage output. The enemies will grow in power, and you can tell basically by the kind of accessories or detailing on the enemy. Plain enemies will go down a few hits. Those that are kind of like a purplish color, they'll go down after a lot of hits. And you're going to need to keep upgrading your damage and your gun if you want to kind of stay ahead of the curve. The leveling system in this one is really well done. Enemies will respawn over time when you kind of teleport from one area to the next, and as you kill them, you'll gain experience. When you level up, you can apply it to kind of your base abilities. And while this is not going to completely radically change your build, it is a great way to supplement your ability, or if you need to make some adjustments, such as getting more range on your shots, more critical chance, and so on. Elite enemies will drop kind of like these giant ruby gems, and they kind of act as currency at the various shops. They will allow you to buy new passive items, get health upgrades, and there's other ways of getting different passive upgrades as well by completing the many side quests and bonus content. If you're just going to play this game just to the completion, it's maybe 5 to 6 hours long. If you're going for everything to see all the secrets, all the challenges and MacGuffins, it's going to take you quite a bit longer than that. I really enjoy this one. This is a game that it knows exactly what it wants to be and who the audience it is for. If you're a top-down shooter fan, this is an easy recommendation, and if you enjoy Metroidvania gameplay, that is just like a bonus or icing on the cake. If I had any problems with this one, it's one thing. I am not a fan of the racing kind of bonus challenges. You see, if you want to see everything in this game, it will require you kind of completing some major secrets to unlock, I believe, like the true final super boss ending. But to do that, you need to do racing challenges. And the racing did not feel good to me. The issue is that the things that you're racing are really good at kind of following the course. It's more about outmaneuvering and outspeeding them rather than the racer making a mistake. This requires you to fully upgrade your boosts and your movement speed, and even then, it didn't feel good to me. You see, if you make any mistake during the race, that's it. Like, you can't catch up just by the virtue of the design. And as someone who came into this expecting more on the top-down shooting bullet hell Metroidvania, it didn't feel good to me to like have to use this skill set, whereas the main game is going to be all about how good you are at dodging and prioritizing bullet patterns and spreads coming in. And while you can cheese this to some extent using your time slowdown power, I think I would have rather have had like either more ways to kind of make this a non-issue, or even just allow someone to skip this if they're not interested in it. And it's really the only kind of, I think, like red mark I would put on Minishoot Adventures. So if you're looking for a top-down shooter with a lot of variety and really great design to it, definitely a recommendation, and certainly going to be one of my favorite games of 2024. We go from dashing to drilling with Pepper Grinder. When our pirate treasure gets stolen by bandits, we grab the nearest oversized drill we could find, and we proceed to tear it up across 4 different worlds. Our platforming here is all about kind of the movement and momentum of your drill. When you're drilling through any kind of object, your character keeps going, and you can use this to kind of boost your way out of the dirt or whatever to launch yourself in whatever direction you may see fit. You can obviously use your drill to beat up the enemies, and you're going to be exploring each one of the game's levels looking for different collectibles. The kind of pirate coins are used to buy kind of cosmetics and get you access to bonus levels. The kind of individual like little bits are used to buy stickers and health items if you need them for a level. Now, there are no kind of persistent upgrades or powers you're going to find in this game. Instead, new environmental mechanics and obstacles are introduced as you play, such as being able to grapple to specific points, deal with different kinds of enemies, swimming, ice, lava, and more, along with each level or each world having its own act boss that you'll need to fight. In this one, in terms of like difficulty, the game for the most part I would say is on the moderate side. Kind of the final set of levels I would say is when the difficulty gets a little bit higher. The issue has to do with kind of how the grapple and your drill physics work. You see, in order to kind of launch yourself off of a grapple, you use the drill. But if you're kind of traveling through something or launching yourself in a direction, you need to be holding down the drill in order to dig through something. So you can have a situation where you're drilling, you don't let go of the button in time, your character just launches themselves off the grapple into a pit. Now there are no lives or anything like that. If you run out of health, you simply return to the last checkpoint. Also, I want to give a shout out to the music. There are some really great jazzy soundtracks that fit kind of like the theme of the level and the world really well. And this one I would say was very solid until maybe like the final level and final boss. As I said, the difficulty gets a little bit higher in those sections. There's one particular area in the penultimate level that seems to be very long, despite the fact that there usually are good at checkpointing. And the game kind of uses more of a combat focus, as where I think it doesn't feel as refined. You see, your drill works really well for platforming and movement, not so well when the enemies can block or shoot stuff at you. And during the final boss in particular, since you're always moving, it makes it a lot harder to do some of the dodging that's required for its attacks. You see, if you get near the edge of what you're drilling, you'll launch yourself out of it. But if it's a very narrow area, or there's nothing for you to latch onto, you're just going to launch yourself into a pit. And I probably spent the most time on the final boss and the penultimate level than I did with any other level of this game, just due to those difficulty points. This one is definitely on the short and sweet side. If you're looking for a platform that's going to make you feel really good about the act of moving, drilling, and jumping and swinging, then it is a very solid recommendation. If you're hoping to see more, I think, evolution of the mechanics, going for more like a Super Meat Boy or very challenging platforming along those lines, then Pepper Grinder is not going to work for you in that regard, but still a really solid concept and one I would definitely like to see more of in the future. And with that, our double action video is over. Both games are played with press keys provided by developers, and if you let me tickle your game for a future stream and video, then be sure to reach out. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.